Welcome back to Morning Coffee on RVNTV. I'm Jim DeLorenzo.
Mark Iorio.
And we have a special guest joining us in the studio this morning, Mindy Thomas, who is the president of Thomas Career Consulting and is about to become one of the newest RVNTV show hosts with her show Career Chat starting the first week of March. So welcome to the team, Mindy.
Thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for the invite today.
You're welcome.
We're glad to
Great
have
you.
Thank you.
So how did you get your start as a career consultant? Where did you find your path towards that business?
Well, I would say that in the last quarter of '08, when the crash was happening, I was already a career counselor and a resume writer. Okay. Doing the gig on the side, as most of us have done.
Right.
You have a full-time job.
Right.
You're working on resumes because people are asking you to write their resumes because they know that's what you do, and you're doing career counseling on the side.
Sure.
At the time of the crash in '08, I was a legal recruiter.
Okay.
And recruiting attorneys, patent attorneys in Washington, D.C. My job was to penetrate the top firms in Washington and build the pipeline of attorneys.
Okay.
The crash happens in the last quarter of '08. I'm looking around. I'm working as a legal recruiter with lawyers. I'm the only career counselor on staff doing this recruiting, and I'm saying, you know, something just is going down here, and y'all better have a second job.
Yeah.
And I had another gig serving as an adjunct faculty member at Immaculata, teaching about 6 different courses, accelerated degree. I love that intensity, one night a week. You know, you may do that yourselves, but, and, you know, I was coaching the other attorneys on the team, the recruiting team. Y'all better have a second job because something is happening here.
Yeah.
And frankly, I had just gone through cancer. And I woke up the day after. It was like a divine intervention. And I remember the day specifically looking like the day of 911. It was crystal clear, sunny, skies were blue. And the inner wisdom inside me said, I know what I know what to do. I woke up, I never wanted to be in business for myself, but I knew that moment happened, and I went with it.
Yeah. Wow.
I knew exactly what I wanted to do, write resumes and do career counseling, and do it for myself.
Yeah.
How nice it would be not to report to someone.
Sure.
Leadership that's weak, a culture that's wrong, and I just went with it. In 90 days, rolled out the website, and I was going to specialize in legal recruiting, and then what happened was I found that I enjoyed all the industries.
Yeah.
So I initially went into it to recruit lawyers and write resumes for them, but then decided I didn't want to just have a niche of doing legal resumes.
Why limit yourself?
Yes.
And especially that period of time with the economy the way it was and people looking for a way to advance. Yeah.
Yes.
That was a great move on your part.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about, you know, when we chat on the phone, we talked a lot about, you know, what career counseling means, what it entails, and what makes you and your firm so different.
Well, what makes me different from my esteemed colleagues out there is that most resume writers are just that, they're writers. They're not career counselors.
Okay.
And most career counselors are not resume writers.
That's true.
The career counseling package that I offer is a 4-session package designed for people who don't like where they are, don't know how to get out of where they are, feel that they need a change. They see the leadership changing in the environment there where they are, and they decide, like, oh my gosh, I got to do something, but now I don't know what to do.
Right.
So I say this with love, that I work with people who don't have a clue what to do next. And there's a lot of folks out there that feel this way. And what we do is we do the deep dive. There's an old mantra from Georgetown where I pursued certificate in executive coaching it's called If Those That Self-Reflect Can Self-Correct. So we got to get quiet. We got to calm down, like Taylor Swift says. You got to calm down. And that's my job, is to create more awareness for people around themselves.
Right.
So looking at your personality, your values, the skills you want to use, not just what you're good at, your the realities of your world.
Sure.
We use that as the foundation of making a good career decision. And through that process and using formal tools, informal tools, reflection, and the conversation, we drive the options based on what's important to you and the skills you want to use against the job market. Because as you know, you can be completely suited for something and there be no jobs out there.
Right, of course.
After the due diligence and research is done, then we can make an action plan or make a decision and then an action plan. Then they can move to the career marketing side of the house, which has to do with resume, cover letter, and of course, LinkedIn.
Right, yeah.
That's really what the two service lines that I offer: career counseling and career marketing.
Yeah, so you're getting people to really follow their passion, what's inside them, what drives them every day, what motivates them to do good in the world, and then hone that down to skill sets that they have or possess, and then go out there and find positions, right, that fit that.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And what we're trying to do is align them with their authentic self. Okay, you can be very good at something. You can have high skill and very low interest. I'm trying to get this up.
Right, yeah.
And match that.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting, because
Yep.
I know that I have worked with some career counselors in the past, both as a client and as my clients. And I've enjoyed the process. I've learned a lot from the people that I've worked with. And I've always found, especially in the last few years, engaging yourself in that passion and finding that passion and going forward with it. And also looking at what, for want of a better term, what your vocation is, what your calling is.
Yes.
What do you feel like you're doing? And it seems to me that you have found that calling in what you're doing, and you're trying to share that with other people who maybe don't quite know what their calling is yet.
That's correct. I don't know what I love more. I don't know if I like the makeover on paper,
Yeah.
the resume,
Yeah.
overhaul, or the journey
Sure.
of the counseling process. They're both equally rewarding. And
then helping people find a slot and actually be fulfilled once they find that slot has to be very rewarding.
oh, it's
as well.
fantastic.
Yeah.
It is
It's got to
fantastic.
give you a big rush.
Big rush,
Yeah.
when they land in the right role, when my clients land, I am celebrating, doing the happy dance at home when I
Yeah.
get that word.
Yeah.
Because, they're stunned. They are absolutely stunned that they did it. And I believe in never giving up.
Yeah.
Option to fail, the old Marine Corps way.
Absolutely.
As you know, I grew up with a Marine Corps fighter pilot, so there was no option to fail.
God bless your dad.
So-
Wow. Yeah. So let's go back to the 2008 epiphany, right?
yes.
Till now, which is you pretty much have full employment, right? You're pretty close to it. You've got 3.5% unemployment. What's the difference between where we were back then, Mindy, and where we are today? And gauge the difficulty between helping clients back then and helping clients today.
Well, when I got laid off in January of 2009, that day, probably 650,000 people got laid off.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
I remember that day.
That was a
And
tough time.
I also remember 48 hours I was up on the web and taking that risk and listening to my inner wisdom. I think the difference between then and now is there is this kind of hope that I've never seen before. The reason I say this is because my phone is ringing and ringing for both counseling and resume writing.
Okay,
that's great.
And as I mentioned just last week, Google Analytics reported to me that there were 2,788 people that searched for 3 keywords last month. That's in the Philadelphia area.
Right.
It was help with resumes, resume writing, and career counseling.
Wow. Just in the Philadelphia area.
Just in Philly.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my gosh, there is hope going on. There is so much confidence right now. People are happy. Yes,
Yeah.
I did see the survey that said 92% of people today are happy with their lives. And I was talking to my mother last night at dinner, and she said, well, you know, what do you think that's about? I said, Mom, it's got to be tied in with their occupations and their jobs and how they're feeling about their life. People are spending money. They're going, everyone I know is on vacation.
Yep.
Yes.
And they're shopping and they're doing all kinds of fun things.
Yep.
And so the difference is there's hope and confidence
That's
happening
great.
in this country. It's
great.
real.
Yeah.
And the fact that my phone, I mean, it's up 800% from last year, just in 1 year.
That's great.
The number of calls I'm getting.
Wow.
So I think that was a very dark time for all of us.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Everybody was unemployed, and in the legal market, that really plummeted.
Yes.
You know, back as so many industries.
Yeah.
So I feel like, you know, taking a risk. People did take risks to go into entrepreneurship, and it's happening now, where people are sick and tired of working for other people.
Right.
I mean, how nice is it to work for yourselves?
Yes. And
Right.
sometimes you need that impetus to see, okay, there's something else out there for me. And sometimes we know what that is, like what you've
Yes.
experienced. But also, there's that feeling of, okay, I don't want to be at the mercy of this situation. I want to take charge of what I'm doing.
Yes.
Yeah. The one thing that hope does for you is it gives you this confidence to say, you know what, I don't need to be in this position where I'm being treated poorly, right? I've got the confidence. The economy is better than it's been maybe absolutely in our entire lifetime. And why don't I go out and do what I'm passionate about, what makes my heart beat every day, and what makes me want to get out of bed every day, rather than working for a person or an organization that doesn't fit, you know, that drive, that passion, that North Star for us, right?
Well, you're correct. But the million-dollar question is, what are you going to do?
And that's where you come in.
And that's where the counseling comes in. Because people don't understand that there's a framework and a process. And I often describe it as like a triangle. In making a good career decision here at the top, what's at the bottom? And the foundation is self-assessment. That then moves to the career options. Then we move to the research and due diligence. Then you can make a plan and an action. Take an action plan, I say. And so the million-dollar question always comes back to, well, what am I going to do? Well, I don't know unless I do that journey with you.
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes people do end up in entrepreneurship.
Right.
They come into career counseling, we're going to find another job, and then all of a sudden, there's just like another sort of path that they never even expected. Just like myself, I never expected to be in business for myself. Never. But I felt that it was a divine intervention the day after I finished treatment.
Mindy,
and I will always credit that move, because I never considered myself to be a highly intuitive person. I have become that.
Wow.
And I urge people out there watching to listen to themselves. Because there's a voice going on, and there's a reason for that. I always say they're the angels talking to us. And trust your inner wisdom. When I meet young people that have high intuition, I always say to them, trust it, go with it for the rest of your life, personally and professionally, because you will save yourself so much heartbreak. Then there are folks that don't have the inner wisdom. I am always giving them books to read. Let's build on that. Let's see if we can tap into that, because it will never steer you wrong. So in that case, that morning, I woke up and I knew it, and I just went with it.
Good for
I
you.
thank God for that.
We're going
to have to take a quick break.
Okay.
This is a great conversation.
Thank you so much.
You know, really interesting. So we'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back after a message from our sponsors.
segment to link to your social media, embed into your company website, or use in email marketing. Investing in your brand is so very important, and we can't wait to have you as a guest.
Shelter dogs aren't broken. They've simply experienced more life. If they were human, we would call them wise. They would be the ones with tales to tell and stories to write. The ones dealt a bad hand who responded with courage. Do not pity a shelter dog. Adopt one.
Say we've got grit, and we'll take it as a compliment. Because it's our uncommon drive, our spark within, that brings us together and sets us apart. We are temple made. And when others take shortcuts, when others take breaks, when others take the easy way, we take charge.
Welcome back to Morning Coffee on RVNTV. I'm Jim DeLorenzo along with Mark Iorio, and our special guest in studio this morning, the newest RVNTV host, Mindy Thomas of Thomas Career Consulting, and she's going to be hosting the new show Career Chat starting the first week of March. So welcome back, Mindy.
Thank you.
We were having a great conversation, and we were talking about that inner voice, the gut reaction, the trusting your gut. Do you find that people don't trust their gut and fall into trouble more often than they should? Or is it something that people say, you know, I had that feeling? Do you get that response from people when you talk to them?
That's a really good question. I often talk to people that have been terminated. And I myself was terminated at a job. It was tragic. It's like, you know, you just stand still and say, what?
Right.
And when someone comes in, for example, if they just hire me to do the resume writing, cover letter, and LinkedIn bios, and they tell me straight up that they got fired, I ask, was it due to performance? What was it due to? People skills, lack of thereof. They tell me that whatever the reason is, they tell me about that. And I say, now, what did you learn from being terminated? Mm-hmm. And sometimes they don't have an answer. Before I move on to that resume interview with them, I am going to take off my resume interviewing hat and I'm going to put my counseling hat on, because I don't want that to ever happen to them again.
Yeah.
Because if you don't learn from that experience, you will, in fact, repeat it again.
Sure.
So if people are caring too much about, well, they didn't put this program in, so-and-so's not doing their job, and they're, you know, really ramping up the emotion on the job, I often say, you know what, this is not your company.
Right.
If it's your company, you can get excited about that.
Yeah.
But it is not your company. And what tends to happen is, I think, they get so involved, they're so down in the rabbit hole and so charged up that they don't realize it's not about the numbers, the sales numbers, it's about how you're getting along with people or not getting along with people.
Yeah.
So I really try to stress that. Let's learn. What is it, the biggest learning you're going to take away? Because I really don't want that to happen to anyone ever again, because it happened to me.
Right.
It didn't happen again after that.
Yeah.
But, so to answer the question, I'd say 50% realize, they get a feeling, they think something's going on.
Sure.
The other 50%, they absolutely have no clue.
Isn't
They
that
can't see
interesting?
past their nose.
Isn't that interesting? Because I know before I started my business 21 years ago, I was at one job for 11 years plus. Okay. And I could see the writing on the wall, and I got out. The second job in that 5-year time frame, management change, I saw the writing on the wall, I got out.
Excellent.
The third time it happened, was when I decided to start my own business.
Fantastic.
But each time there were warning signs, and I was able to figure that out. The first time it happened, I was like, I don't know if I want to do this, but I knew I had to do something. But sometimes we don't recognize those signs, you know, and it's interesting that 50% of the people that you're talking to didn't recognize that sign or didn't see the writing on the wall. Or
Yeah, so you mentioned a while ago about this subject, Mindy, that you do some personal assessments, right? Or
We use formal assessments,
Formal
like
assessments.
the Myers-Briggs,
Okay.
the Strong Interest Inventory,
Okay.
the FIRO-B I use, which assesses your inclusion, control, and affection needs,
Yeah.
how you express them,
Yeah.
and how you want them expressed back to you.
So what do these tell people when there's someone's sitting in front of you and you look at that triangle, right?
Yeah.
And the self-assessment part has not really been done yet. They really don't know who they are
Right.
as a person, right? They don't know what drives them. They don't know what their passion is, etc. Then what? Let's say you give them a Myers-Briggs, you do a Kolbe assessment or whatever other assessments you do. Then what?
Well, they're going to know. If they're working with me, we are going to go through these assessments and discuss. I want feedback. If this is not aligned, if you read this narrative about your personality and it doesn't match, we're starting back from scratch.
Perfect.
And we're going to look at each. For example, the Myers-Briggs assesses you on 4 dichotomies: where you get your energy from, how you gather data, how you make decisions, and how you order your world. There's 16 possibilities. How I use that is as a tool to share with you the specific industries and occupations that people with your personality profile, they're in and they're happily employed.
Right.
Wouldn't that have been nice to have in high school
Yeah.
or college?
Yeah.
We didn't have it, we're boomers, so we didn't even have access to that. But today, career counselors love those tools.
Sure.
The strong interest inventory takes the personality and your interest and then generates the occupations.
Right.
These are not in stone. We use them as a
As
tool,
guidelines,
as
right.
a guideline to generate the ideas.
Right.
And that's why journaling is so important, because we found that adults that write crystallize their thoughts, and from that insight comes.
interesting.
Insight.
That is interesting. That's
Yes.
really interesting.
So
I like that.
when I attended Georgetown's program for coaching, just for ha-has, really, I had my master's in counseling. I just wanted to know what this billion-dollar industry was about.
Right.
Let me go down to Washington once a month for a week, shut down my business, and study with this dynamic cohort of 33 people that were fascinating and from all over the world. And we found that, that when we had to present our cases with executives, and we had to ask them to journal, even the busiest executives out there journaled, and you cannot believe the insights that we found.
Wow.
Yes. So if you write, it crystallizes the thoughts and more insight comes. And I'm not asking you to write what your tasks are tomorrow. I'm asking, what are you feeling?
Right.
What are you thinking about? What's coming up for you as a result of the work we're doing? Because we're stirring up a lot when we're talking about you.
Yeah, yeah. That is really interesting. I like
Yeah.
that process.
Oh,
It's really insightful and very helpful.
Do you find that the clients that you're working with, have they been journaling, or this is something that's a new idea to them?
Very small percentage of journaling.
Okay.
Very small percentage. And my audience is really recent college grads, even college students that are they still haven't chosen a major. Parents, I'm on the phone all the time with parents, and they want their kids straightened out, so they invest in the career counseling process.
So you have several tiers or packages that you put together for clients, right?
Well, on the career counseling side, there's one package.
Okay.
It's 4 sessions.
Okay.
There's more bang for the buck if they sign up for the 4 sessions. So I'm really not doing one-offs unless they already went through counseling with me.
Okay. Okay.
So I had an executive recently that didn't know whether to leave her or stay. And we did a one-off session. and then it turned into a second session. He does not make a move without discussing.
Wow.
And I feel very flattered that he discusses these
Sure.
issues with me, but we thought that he was going to go one way. Comes in and he's going this way, and then after we do the Benjamin Franklin close on both companies, he ends up, and you know what the the pros and cons of each company, he ends up going with the first, what the gut feeling was that I personally had for him, and that he had. We came back to that. And this is not an intuitive executive. He's very much a sensor.
Yeah.
He's a data analytics person, and he's very much into the here and now, here's what we have.
Right.
But he took so many risks. I'm really proud of this particular executive because he's risk adverse.
Yeah.
And he has gone into his own business and then went back to corporate. So I find that, people can tap into it. It's not impossible to get to the intuitive side. I feel like, Jim, you've got this. You get a feeling, you go with it.
Yes.
And that's why I like to share that, because I think it will help everyone personally and professionally to listen to what's in here.
What's inside, yeah. How do you find new clients?
Well, I'm really fortunate. If you Google Resume Writing Services Philadelphia,
You come up.
I'm on page 1 for Google. That happens to be connected to the Google reviews that my clients write. So there's near 100 there. And it's, really a wonderful feeling when people, feel good about the services and the value they get from working with me.
Right.
So that's really
That's great,
how
Mindy.
they find me.
That's great.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for help, really, you're looking for help, you're looking for advice, you're looking for some counseling, Mindy Thomas and Thomas Career Consulting, you can find her online at LinkedIn. You can also look at her website, thomascareerconsulting.com, and she's going to be here on RVNTV every week beginning in March with Career Chat. What are some of the topics you're going to be discussing on Career Chat coming up?
Well, we're going to talk about everyday people that are out there making transitions, people that had the courage to change jobs. They got a feeling something is going down. We're going to talk about millennials that are in business for themselves. We're going to talk about franchise coaching. We're going to have an Italian businessman here from Verona, Italy, that is an attorney that went into the wine business.
Wow.
We're going to have everyday people like you all. So we're hoping to share that confidence and that hope with our audience, because we really believe that change is happening and you can make that change.
Great.
Fantastic, Mindy. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for
this morning.
joining us.
Oh, it's my
This has
pleasure.
been terrific.
Thank you so much.
Welcome to the
Welcome
RVNTV
to the show.
Thank you
family.
so much. All right.
All right.
And we're going to take a break here, and at the top of the hour, we'll be coming back with Movie Madness here on Morning Coffee. But for Mark and I, this is farewell for today. We'll see you again next week. And look for CEO Chat.
No.
Rainmakers Roundup. Excuse me, Rainmakers Roundup and press conference here on RVNTV, along with the new show, Career Chat.
You can look for CEO Chat. I just won't be on.
That's true. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
Have a good day, everybody.
All right.